Good afternoon, everybody. I am Gary Haskins, Detective Superintendent of the Major Crime Investigation Team. So this afternoon, as you're no doubt aware, the jury have found Anthony Snook and Riley Tolliver and 3 juveniles guilty of murdering Max and Mason. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the boys' parents. Whilst this will bring them some comfort, it won't bring them back. Working with them has been humbling, and I praise them for the way in which they've dealt with this awful, awful case. I think I've probably said enough, and I'll hand over to the families now, if I may.
Can we just ask you a few questions before we go to the families? No? Oh, I didn't hear you say that. I didn't hear you say that. Sorry then, if you want to come up and identify yourself, sir.
I would just like to say, on behalf of my sister and my nephew Mason and his family, first of all, we'd like to say a massive thank you to Detective Superintendent Gary Haskins and all his team. They promised us right at the beginning that they would do everything in their power, and they have. They've got them. We would like to say thank you as a family to our liaison officers, Matt and Anthony, that have been beside us this whole time, and they've been brilliant. We'd like to thank Ray Tully, lead prosecutor, and his team, along with Stella CPS, because they've done a fantastic job. We'd like to thank Ellie for helping us deal with the media and that. We thank the jury for having to see what we've seen, and no one should ever see any of that. And we thank them for coming to the correct decision as far as we as a family are concerned. We want to thank the public all over Bristol, all over the country that have seen what's happened to these 2 innocent boys and have helped along the way and everything. Mason, our family, like most families, is a big jigsaw puzzle, and Mason was a massive part of that jigsaw puzzle, and basically that piece of the puzzle has now been destroyed and will never be replaced, but will always be in our hearts. Mason was a real quiet boy, wouldn't hurt a fly, wouldn't even know how to throw a punch, but he was so loving and caring, and everyone that knew him knew what a massive Liverpool fan he was. PlayStation, that's basically, it was his life. All I can say is that these animals took away a son, a brother, a nephew, an uncle, and a grandchild, and we must now navigate the rest of our lives without our puzzle piece. Thank you. Cheers.
Max and Mason have known each other since nursery school. They've always been in the same classes. We often joked it was odd friendship because they were both so different, but they bounced off each other and brought out the best in each other. The last 6 weeks have been emotionally draining. Today's outcome doesn't change the fact that 2 families go home without their boys. But we can now hopefully begin to process that and remember them both and the happy memories that both families have of Max and Mason. I need to thank everyone that's been involved in our case. I have so much respect for the hard work, dedication and support to our families. There are no words to express how thankful I am to everyone. I will be forever grateful to them. It's just, I wish we didn't have to be here today, but we've got some sort of justice for our boys. So thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Janine Davis. I'm a Deputy Chief Crown Prosecutor with the CPS South West. The news of the death of Max and Mason was met with shock and horror throughout the city of Bristol. The Crown Prosecution Service worked closely with our colleagues in the Avon and Somerset Major Crime Investigation Team to build our case. And that case was that all 5 defendants had been working together and shared joint responsibility for the murders of both Max and Mason. The 4 youths armed themselves and went hunting for people to attack. When they came across Max and Mason, they launched a brutal joint attack that left both boys fatally injured. When Anthony Snook drove the youths that night, he was well aware that they were heavily armed and they were looking for revenge. There could have been no doubt in his mind as to what they intended to do. Today's verdicts serve as a reminder that the carrying of knives and other bladed weapons can only lead to tragedy. Our thoughts remain with the families of Max and Mason and the unimaginable loss that they are going through. Thank you.
Well done, everybody. Well done.
Read me another word. Thank you.